Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to another review video, this time something different. The Elder Scrolls Online, soon to be subtitled Tamriel Unlimited. As you can tell, it's not yet because, well, as of right now as I'm recording, it hasn't come out. So I just got the game a little bit early. I've been screwing around in it, trying to get in before the mass of players comes in when the subscription does head out the door, and really just trying to get a good educated opinion on this game so I can make a review in time for when it does come out, for the people that have not played it and maybe are actually starting to consider it now that you don't have to pay $15 a month. The only reason I bought it now beforehand is because I figured you get the 30 days free anyway, so might as well get it beforehand. So I'm going to go right into this game. I'll get into some of the technical stuff, and then I'll go over the overall later. First of all, apologies for the length of this video. It's going to be kind of long, so I figured I might as well upload it in glorious 1080 60 frames per second for your viewing enjoyment. Here, just died like a noob. But yeah, I'll get right into it. I'll start with the technical stuff, and I'll show you some of this later on down the road. This game runs pretty damn well. Obviously, I've got it on a GTX 970, so it doesn't have too much of a struggle on it with 1080 60. It does bog down when you get in town, whether there's a lot of players. Your frame rate will drop, but that's to be expected with any MMO. That always happens. So, but in combat, you usually have no trouble maintaining 60 on Ultra, so that's good. This game you can play on 4 classes. Four classes, that's it. I'm playing as a Templar, as you can see, which is mainly the tank class, but you can also play a tank as the Dragon Knight. But this class revolves around heavy armor, two-handed and one-handed weapons with shields, and as you can see, the spells are mostly restoration. There's also like a Dawn's Wrath, which ability, it's a whole ability line where it's kind of like the restoration magic in Skyrim that burns, that does stuff to effects to undead, but it does it to everything. I quite like it. It fits my playstyle very well. But there's Templar, Dragon Knight, which is just your standard sword and board. I assume that's what I've seen people running it as. Mage and the Templar. So and the Nightblade, which is like the archer sneaky class. You can diversify them quite a bit. It kind of sounds like that's a small count for classes for such a big game. I thought it was when I heard it, but it turns out to be pretty good. Here I'm showing you some interactions with some NPCs. As you can see, it looks quite a bit different than it did in Oblivion and Skyrim with the cameras off, but it works just fine. The merchants, you have to, that's where you get to repair your armor and stuff. When you die, as you saw, nothing really too bad happens. If you don't have a soul gem or a certain perk, you have to respawn at the nearest way shrine, which is how you fast travel around the world. And then you have to repair your armor. And there I was talking to the lady that in Daggerfall, where you can begin crafting. I'll get into that later as well. Here's me showing off some of the game's technical settings. Pretty good list of options. Unfortunately, you have to restart the game for nearly everything that you change. I think maybe the textures you don't, but a lot of that you do. So it might take a while to configure on your system. But other than that, it works pretty well. The camera controls are nice. I'll show that off later as well. But technically, pretty sound game. I can't complain. A lot of options, and you could probably run this on, hell, even integrated graphics if you toned it down enough. Here I'm showing you running through one of my favorite parts of the world, which is a dungeon where you get to. There's like a mini boss at the end, and you get a pretty good experience for it. Here's some epic lock picking. The tumbler system is back. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to relearn for me. I finally did get it, but that's why I'm showing it off, because I was proud of one of my first intermediate unlocks. So that was cool. Here's the mini boss I was speaking of, and then you'll get a little achievement for doing it, which is kind of nice. The world definitely. It wants to be explored. There's a lot of stuff to do. and it's so big that I highly recommend getting a mount early on. I don't have one, and it kind of sucks at sometimes. What the hell is that? But one of the pre-order editions, one of the like the Imperial edition, I think you get one right off the bat, so that's a good thing. Here I'm showing some respecking because the latest update, which I will not be getting too much into because it's irrelevant by the time the full game Tamriel Unlimited comes out. It redid your character spec, so that's why I'm going through and doing it all again, showing you what it looks like. Do the same thing with your abilities here. But yeah, the world is freaking humongous. It's every region in all of Tamriel. I don't know if they're scaled 100% properly. I haven't been to Skyrim, and I haven't explored a lot of Cyrodiil because that's where the PvP takes place, and I've only done it once, and it did not go well, as you'll see. So I can't really gauge the size if it's right, but I think it's close. This is a newcomer to the Elder Scrolls series. This is called a Sky Shard. If you find 3 of them, you get a new skill point to spend. It's pretty cool. Encourages you to explore the world more, and they stick out like a sore thumb, so that's nice. This is a boss area. You'll see a skull and swords crossed. Kill these guys, you get some pretty nice EXP for it. A nice little achievement to go along with it as well. And some of them, if you're properly leveled, are really easy to take down. Otherwise, you better have a friend for some of these. I got destroyed by a giant mud crab, if that tells you anything, in some earlier levels. So, but these are really fun to do. This is one of my favorite part of the world as well. As you can see, I had a buddy come up for assist, which was nice. And most of these bosses have a specific weapon or ability or something along those lines that they drop. Here's the mailing system. My friend and I trade each other. I give him enchanting and clothing materials, and he gives me smithing materials, since that's what we focus on, we find throughout the world. There's a postage fee of 10 gold, which is, I find hilarious myself. Like it's costing the game anything, but it doesn't, you know, who cares once you have like over 3,000 gold, you don't even notice it. You pay way more to fast travel to shrines in the middle of nowhere, so not a big deal. Here's blacksmithing. This game works quite a bit differently than the past games. You destroy weapons to get experience and get some materials back, and then create them obviously gets more EXP. There's researchable traits for every one, and you have to do it for each weapon. You add different stones to make those, to give traits to weapons, in addition to a star metal, that's for Redguard, a different kind of motif type piece of rock or whatever it is, like Norju's corundum, but the material no longer like steel, iron, or chalcum, however the fuck you say that. It no longer dictates what kind of weapon you make. It's about the decorative material, which is interesting. So now there's tiers of the same kind of. So like right now I'm wearing like tier 2 Nord armor. It's steel, which I think it's interesting, which looks pretty bitchin' on my Redguard, I must say. And here I am dyeing it. You can dye whatever the hell you want. You unlock colors by doing getting different achievements, and you'll get those pretty easily. You'll progress through them. Some of the colors look absolutely, really insanely good on like clothing, not so good on armor. That's why I just stick with most of the time obsidian gray looking shit, and it looks pretty good. This is the snippets of PvP I managed to capture, if you want to call it that. I was the only player. It runs through, like, it's called a campaign. Like, you do a 7-day, 14-day, 30-day campaign. And I guess I must have just joined an unpopulated server, because here it is. That's me. And I don't know where everyone else is. The color coding is all dependent on what faction you're in, like the Aldebaran Dominion or the Daggerfall Covenant, whatever. You see the white gold tower over there getting trapped by an anchor. But my objective was all the way across the damn world. I get there, and I'm only like a measly level 13 or something at this point, and everyone's veteran ranked, which is rank 50, like prestiged. So I got destroyed by NPCs, as you can see. So don't do PvP until you're veteran rank, apparently, is what I learned. But so I can't comment on how good that is. There's some cinematic walking. Well, it's not cinematic. It's in 60 frames per second. Can't be cinematic, but walking on the beach, showing some pretty cool world detail, trying to avoid the mud crabs. But yeah, I think this is a good point to show off the art style. I like the art style. It's pretty enough. It's not like jaw-dropping gorgeous like it is in some points of Skyrim. Even though that game is over 3 years old, it still really holds up. The problem with this game's art style to me is it does feel dated. It looks more like Oblivion, and it's still a little cartoony. And I understand why they did it. Number one, it's an MMO. I've never seen an MMO that tried to be hyper realistic and looked good doing it. And plus, obviously for performance issues, and there's a lot of world to cover. But I know they wanted to try to make all of the different nations, like Skyrim and Morrowind, all the architecture blend together seamlessly. And, if you had Oblivion's art style in Cyrodiil and Skyrim's art style in Skyrim and Morrowind's art style in Morrowind, not only would that be technically just impossible, but it would just look weird going in between them. So they all do have enough of their own characteristics. It's good, but as you can see here, it's still it definitely feels way more MMO-y. Although that the character movement is really good, I'd have to say. First person, as you can see, I turned my HUD off for a different view, but it's pretty smooth. The hit connection for melee is really good. There's some projectile guidance for everything else, though, like for spells and arrows. So you can pretty much not aim at the enemy, and it will hit them if you're aiming within a certain bit of them. So that's it's understandable. I mean, that would be a lot of hit tracking otherwise for an MMO. But I don't use a whole lot of projectiles. I use a couple spells that are that. But my friend who's playing an archer, he says it's really easy to hit shots. So, and there's no more arrows apparently. You just get the bow and you have infinite arrows. So that's one way it tackled that. But here's just me doing some more non-story quests. This one happens pretty early on, so I figured I'd do some that weren't too spoilery or story revolved around the story. That way, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Not that I haven't gotten to much of the story myself. I'll get to why later and why I kind of don't like that. But yeah, I guess I'll get into the meat of this review now. I'm actually going to get a drink of water. Hold on. Alright, now that I've quenched my palate, like I said, let me get into the meat of this review here. Alright, I'll just go straight down my list. I already mentioned technically this game runs pretty well. That being said, if you want to max this thing out, it's probably more CPU dependent on a lot of these things than it is GPU dependent. I'm running a pretty old i7 2600K. It is overclocked to 3.8 gigahertz, which is not super overclocked by any means. So it does run very well. But like I said earlier, in town, when there's a lot of players around, it tanks the FPS. I've seen it go as low as like 22 at one point when there was a lot of players in the blacksmithing area. But in combat, never drops below 60. I'd say if you have a newer generation i5 or i7, even some of the middle range and AMD processors, you'll have no trouble running this. My friends both play on laptops with like GTX 765M, one of them's SOLI GT 750s, and I think they can play both on high settings, no problem. So like this isn't a very demanding game, and it runs well enough for the way it looks. There's no disparity between there. I don't know how consoles will be able to run it, but I'll get into that later anyway. The character customization, I didn't show the customization in the beginning because I didn't record it, and I figured everyone's going to go through the tutorial on their own anyway, so no need to. But the character customization is really good. I was really surprised with how well it is. I feel like you can get a lot more variety of character faces than you could in Skyrim for every race. The Redguard in particular, I really liked it. Mine has a like Ragnar Lothbrok hair, matted up, and a really good beard, and some really cool, like the tribal, where they cut their skins and it makes calluses out of it to look like crocodile skin. I have that going on. But even like Argonians look really nice. I was surprised with how well they did with that. The only backfire to that, and the consequence of that, is now the weapons and armor look more bland than the characters do, which is kind of strange. It's a strange parallel between what you saw in Skyrim and Oblivion, I think, where the characters were like, but then the armor and weapons were super ornate and you couldn't take their eyes off of them. Now I just want to run around without my helmet on. I'd keep it on because it looks pretty good, but I need the extra protection, so... but I was very impressed with the characters. I gotta give them props on that. Combat is surprisingly a lot alike to the offline Elder Scrolls. The main difference, I would have to say, besides being, like I talked about earlier with the projectiles being guided, you can no longer hold spells in your hands. It works like any abilities in like World of Warcraft or Diablo, where like your spells and abilities are bound to the 1 through 5 keys, or you can rebind them to another button on your mouse if you have like an MMO mouse or whatever. But even like one-handed and two-handed melee have their own abilities now. Instead of just attacking with it, you can do like slashes and stabs. Like those are a couple stamina attacks, and that will negate the enemy's armor for a few minutes or a few seconds into combat or whatever. And it's a little weird to get used to at first, but as you like here, I just showed one of those is a rush ceremony, which is a healing spell, but I have it bound to 4. I like it because otherwise in like Skyrim I would have to pop up the quick menu, hit 1 or 2 whatever, or 3, whatever the fuck I had it bound to, and then have to switch back to my sword or whatever. In this way you just automatically do the action, which is nice. Even for mages, they can run around with a staff, you know, a destruction staff, and do a totally different spell with their offhand. And so that's a good system. I think it works far better that way in an MMO. So I do like that. The sword and shield combat, including two-hand as well, feels really well, very akin to the offline ones. You can definitely tell there's a little bit of slop in it, and that you get hits from farther away than what you should get, and it's a little assisted, but it's the best MMO melee I've ever seen. Like, especially coming off of like Star Wars The Old Republic, where you'd go up to someone and you just spam click all over them, and you don't even hit the son of a bitch, and you're getting, you know, hit points on them. This is way more immersive, and I really am impressed with the melee combat. I do enjoy it very much. It's not as rigid as Skyrim or Oblivion, but it's really good. So I was impressed by that. Good apple juice. On to the questing, which as you can see I'm doing quests right now. It's kind of the same shit. Go find this, go kill him, return back to me, here's some golden experience. I mean, what the hell else can you really expect? Not all these quests are that monotonous, but a lot of them are. Most quests, I would say, are really fucking bland, as a matter of fact. Some of them are so cool, though. Some of them I've really liked. I don't want to get into spoilers about the ones I really want to talk about. I'll just say there's been a couple with werewolves that were cool. There's been some with Dwarven Ruins that I really liked in the Fighters Guild. And but some of these are just straight up, go fucking find this thing for me. And that does get monotonous. The worst part about questing, though, it sucks for groups. It absolutely sucks for groups. And this is an MMO, you know, that is oriented towards playing with friends. So, you know, you would have thought they would have had that foresight into it. But let me give Borderlands as an example. So you're in a group of 4 people, right? So the party leader goes up, or anybody can go up to a quest board or whatever, activate the quest. Everyone has the quest. Some other guy can, you know, go run off to another place, grab an item for a quest they already have activated, and it works for everybody. Everyone is caught up to that point. Not this game. If you're playing with a friend, you have to go talk to whoever you need to talk to, and they have to do the exact same thing, pick up all the things that you've done. It's a completely different instance for them. I wish that would have had group instances be like the same thing. That way you can split up and, you know, say there's like one quest that's like, go find the pieces of this guy's sword. I wish it was like you could go find the blade, your friend could go find the hilt, and it counts for each other. It does not, though, so you're going to be doing a lot of backtracking if you're playing together with quests. And I don't think a lot of these quests want you to play together as a group. I think that's more for dungeon crawling and boss tackling, that sort of thing. So that's a bad thing about the quests, that you know, it was kind of an unforeseen thing for me. So yeah, that kind of sucked. The story quests have been good so far, but I haven't played many of them because they're level locked. I don't know how I feel about that. I've only got to play like 4 after the tutorial mission, because they were like level 6, level 12, level 14. Like the last one was like level 20. I don't know when I'll be able to do the next one. Which kind of sucks because the story's got a good premise. There's some good characters. There's the best voice actors in the game are definitely in the story. And you know, by the time I get back to the mission, I'd forgot what happened in the previous one. So that kind of blows. You can't just sit through and play the entire mission and the entire story in one go, like you could in the offline games. And you know, I can kind of see why they're trying to build you up as a character, you know, a hero character by the time you get to that point. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just not the way I would have gone about it. So that does suck. And the story is completely solo, as one would have expected. So that's my 2 cents on that. The world itself, it's fucking huge. We're talking all Tamriel here. I don't think I ever give a good scale of just how big it is. But, I mean, one little tiny island that you're on, like Stros Mackay, is, I don't know, 16, 20 square kilometers, if I'd have to guess. And then you go to a much bigger Glenumbra, and then you start looking at some of the Skyrim regions. It's a big world. And I'm not sure exactly how accurate to scale it is with the other games. I'm sure it's smaller, and they took out some of the unnecessary stuff, but it's still plenty, and it's still plenty to drive the world. There's not a whole lot of wasted space, I feel like. Everywhere's interconnected some way. Some of it, I feel like there's too much walking to get to some places, but overall, it's I think they utilize the space really well. I already talked about the art style. I got my thoughts on it. It's good. It's a little bland, but I don't think they could have gotten around that issue. I would have done the exact same thing they did, make one whole homogeneous art style to try to fit to everywhere, and then modify it a little bit between all the architecture depending on where you're at in the world. So I think they did what they could have. This world is so big, as a matter of fact, I just thought about this, to reiterate it, like I think I said earlier, that it is a good idea to get a mount early on, and maybe even the Imperial Edition, if you want to pay extra for it to get that mount. I think it comes with one, because that's how I've been seeing Imperial characters early on have them, I assume. So if you want to traverse the place easier, or spend an ungodly amount of gold on a horse, that's pretty much all you can do. But back to the world itself, I think it's really fun to explore. The best thing in this game to me are the dungeons and the dolmens, and attacking those with friends. The dolmens are the big anchors in the sky that are, they're story related, but they're held there by Molag Bal. And you go there and you kill some Daedra, and he summons some more, and you kill some more, and they can start to overwhelm you, especially if you're solo, even on the lower level ones. And if you have some friends to come in and help you do those, it's really fun. Same with dungeons, and even the guild quests that are associated with some of those. So that's my favorite part of the world. Definitely not questing. It's quite a bit more monotonous than that. The crafting is fucking terrible. It's a grind. That's the materials cost way too fucking much, because you can't buy them anywhere except from guild traders. The blacksmiths, the carpenters, none of them work like they did in the offline games, unfortunately. You go there and they have the motif materials to build the style of whatever you want to build. They don't have the raw materials, and everything is level locked anyway. So I guess they're just trying to make you go slower. But I would have completely done it a whole different way, and the prices are all determined by the guild traders, which are run by players. So you can say buy 100 iron ingots maybe one day for 50 gold, the next day 5,000 gold. The temper materials like the honing stones and the potion looking things for the superior and fine weapons are even way worse. So crafting blows. Unless that you are hell-bent on blacksmithing or something like I am, don't do it. You can get all the gear from picking up off of dead shit that you've killed. You'll get it eventually, and then you can just go dye it later. I really like the Nord stuff, so that's why I wanted to get into blacksmithing so I could build my own set of Nord armor, but it's taken probably just 2 hours out of my game time just doing that, so I wouldn't recommend it. Next thing is leveling. Like I mentioned the sky shards when I ran across that one. I do like that system. It's pretty cool. Give you an extra skill point for every 3 you find. It's pretty nice. You can go through, you can modify all those abilities with an extra skill point, so they'll have another, they'll do another ability, or they'll reduce the magicka, the cost to do whatever. There's one tree that you can go down for either one, and once you modify it, you're stuck with it, unfortunately. So that's something you got to consider and think about. At level 15, something pretty cool becomes available. If you press tilde, you can access an alternate loadout. So like for me, I have kind of a DPS two-handed loadout with all like my Dawn's Wrath stuff on it, and then the second one is a healer sword and shield. So unlike in Skyrim, per se, where you had to have your fucking quick bar and you'd have to go and pick, oh, now I want my sword and shield, or now I want dual casting restoration. It's all there at the flip of a button to completely change what you can do, and it changes your ultimate as well. So I like that a lot. It feels like forever to get to 15. It's really a fucking blink of an eye in the length of this game, so it doesn't take too long to get to, and I really like that. But that pretty much covers all the big stuff in here. Like I said, I didn't get to PvP very much because, well, you saw my pathetic experience with PvP, but you know, I guess I'll get to that one in veteran level. But overall, what would I say about this game? It's a damn good MMO. Matter of fact, one of my favorite MMOs I played in the past 5 years. It's polished. There's nothing game-breaking I ran into. Unfortunately, it's a pretty meh Elder Scrolls game. You could have taken away the Elder Scrolls title and left the art style and replaced the names of the characters, and it would have not affected it whatsoever. It was like, it's I'll go as far to explain it as like all the Lego games are Lego games. You got your Lego Batman, Lego Star Wars, Lego DC Universe, whatever. But you don't think of those as those respective games. You don't think, I want to go play Star Wars Jedi Academy and then Star Wars Legos as in the same universe. It's just, that's not the way it works. This game is an MMO first, and it does a pretty good job. But that's the way it is, and I think a lot of people went into this game thinking, oh, I'm going to play Skyrim online. It's not at all. So don't expect that, and I think you'll be better off anyway.
Hello there.
No matter what happens, I don't know when they are coming out. I think June. They said that last year too, so who knows. Do not get this game on console. Number one, who knows what terrible resolution and frame rate this thing's going to run on, but this game's way too big to be using anything but keyboard and mouse. I can't imagine trying to navigate this menus with a thumbstick. The combat, to be able to access all of your abilities in one go, I know you probably have access to the directional pad and whatnot, but it's I just don't see it happening, and you're going to have a way better experience with keyboard and mouse like this damn game was designed for. Supposedly they're going to implement controller support here soon. I don't see a need. I mean, unless you have a serious handicap, there's no reason you should be doing it anyway. So I wouldn't buy it on consoles because you have to pay a damn subscription for it anyway. They were talking about doing the double subscription thing until this game was going subscription free, so you don't get out of it. You're going to be paying Xbox Live or PlayStation Network costs anyway. And like I said, it'll probably be running at a locked 30 frames per second and shudders. But yeah, like I said, if I had to give one statement, it's a better MMO than most MMOs. It's the worst Elder Scrolls game out of all of them so far, though. But it doesn't mean it's not a good game, and I would recommend it to people if you're curious about it now that there's no subscription, especially if you can get it for like 30 or 40 bucks like I did. I've gotten that much entertainment out of it already. But you better have a group of friends to play it with, otherwise it's going to get monotonous pretty damn fast. I'm not going to give it a numerical score. I don't think it's fair considering I haven't finished it, and even then I think this is kind of beyond numbers, but I really couldn't add up all the various elements. I couldn't be like, well, the art's a 7 out of 10 and the combat's a 8, and I ain't going to do it. So if you're an MMO fan and you want to try something new and you like Elder Scrolls, go for it. If you want Skyrim Online, go download some more mods. That's all I can tell you, because this is not what you're going to get. And for the love of God, do not buy this on Xbox or PlayStation ever. Ever, ever, never. So I think you can get it on Steam now. I bought it directly off of a key for eBay. And I would recommend, once again, and we'll say this for the third time, if you can get the Imperial Edition for around the same cost, and you probably should, just for the horse, because it's a big world and it does take a while to traverse. But that's pretty much all I have to say. If you have any directly opposite feelings than me and would like to leave a comment, tell me about it. Go ahead and go buy it if you want, or not. I don't care. Ain't my money. Alright, well, that's that for this one, and hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully this swayed someone's opinion or educated some people before they went out and spent money that they didn't want to. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment, like I said, if you want to bring up another point, and stick around hopefully for some more reviews like this one. And sorry for keeping you so long, damn, but it's a big game, big review, you know how it goes. But thanks for watching, and stick around, hopefully, for more stuff. Bye.